talking loud in the nighttime air. Voices clash without a care. Opinions flare like they matter so. But who's right we'll never know. Microphones like weapons drawn. Swagger in the twilight dawn. Each word iron, each thought steel. To be heard is the final deal. Howling offense in the midnight haze. Everybody's offended, each one sways. We're offended, you're offended, that's the way. Claim the night with the things we say. Truths clash like broken dreams. Voice to voice, let it scream. What's real in this foggy light? Bow hard till the morning light. Feel the hunger of the crowd. Anxious to erupt so loud. Unity in discord side. Witness as their worlds collide. Howling up and in the midnight haze. Everybody's offended, each one's way. We're offended, you're offended, that's the way. Claim the night with the things we say. Truths clash like broken dreams. Raise your voice, let it scream. What's real in this foggy light? Battle hard till the morning light. Feel the hunger of the crowd. And just to erupt so loud. Unity in discord's tide. Witness as their worlds collide. Howling offense in the midnight haze. Everybody's offended, each one's way. We're offended, you're offended, that's the way. Claim the night with the things we say. We say. We say. We say. We say. We say. How can we dash when our earth is turning?
They don't produce anything. They don't do anything.
How do we sleep when our beds are burning? How can we dance when our earth is turning?
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to We're Offended, You're Offended. I'm Kim. This is Tyler. And we want to end our very special guest, Payman Asghari. I hope I did not say that horribly bad. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time in your day to come sit with us and listen to the craziness going on in the world this week. You can catch us in all the places listed in the description box below. Anything we talk about will also be there. And before we kick it off, Payman, who are you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey Kim, Tyler, first of all, thank you very much for having me on. Secondly, you totally nailed the name, so you got it perfectly.
Yes.
So no need for apologies there. As for myself, I'm a Canadian now, but I immigrated to Canada in '89, and from '89 until, let's say, shortly before COVID, all I really wanted to do was go to school, take the hardest course possible, get a job, just work and work. It's something about the ethic that was instilled in me growing up. I guess you could say I grew up in a conservative household. Like the value of a man, and maybe it applies to women too, but the value of a man is just get out there and produce, like do something, preferably, start your own company, but like build something, produce something. And then COVID hit, and I had seen this like creeping up, but something has changed, and I don't like the direction that the country is going in, that it's becoming so socialist, so the government's becoming sort of your caretaker, and that's why I'm running for federal office for the People's Party of Canada. That's my journey in a nutshell.
Love it.
Yeah, this I very much have turned, I shouldn't not turned on. That's a weird way to put it. But like, as like, even say for myself, someone who started out, I think the adage that if you're not a liberal when you're young, you don't have a heart, and you don't have a if you're not a conservative when you're older, you don't have a brain. And I think maybe with me getting older, I've more looked at like where I don't know if maybe the Liberal Party has left me. I think it very much has. And even like for myself, I turned from, especially during COVID, was just, well, this is what one side saying, the mainstream media, everyone's saying the same things. And this is all I asked. What's the other side saying? That's it. And now I don't recognize the Liberal Party that I once said was, where my values lied. I can't even really look at the Conservative Party anymore as someone who is a bulwark against the liberal kind of being absolutely unhinged. And so I've had to make this natural progression of someone who is politically homeless. And I think and I don't mean that in a bad way with the PPC, but it's kind of I don't want to say the rejects of society, but the people who are now politically homeless are now going, now where do I go? Because if I look at the Conservatives, if I look at the Liberals, I very much see the same ideology or the same dogma that they're saying. And it's actually nice to see another party that's saying, no, you're not crazy for having these concerns. No, what you're seeing happening in your community, no, you're not imagining things. You are actually seeing these problems, and we do want to get back to a world of meritocracy. And that's actually what started pulling me towards the PPC, was seeing, hey, you know what? Let's get to work. It is the entrepreneurs. It is it is very much these weird positions that we've kind of found ourselves in. But I guess, should we just, should we just get right into the cool, fun stuff?
Can I add a comment to that?
Absolutely.
The way I see it, society is crumbling. So when I say society, I mean, community, culture, and we're wondering why we can't vote our way out of this. So, this whole ping ponging thing, where we went for like Trudeau, Mulroney, Chrétien, Harper, now, Trudeau, and now Carney. And it's another issue on its own. But like, the problem is not a political issue. The problem is, like, society is going in this direction. I used the word socialism earlier. You can use progressivism, but like, we're getting packed into these cities. We're losing our connection with the land. We're losing our connection with each other. Like, the family unit's been broken up, and the People's Party is kind of coming out and saying, all right, the solution can't just be political. It also has to be, societal, which is why we're doing these two things where we want to educate, we want to get people's votes, but we also have to educate them, which is, it's a very difficult thing to do. But that's what's happening when people say they're politically homeless. They're realizing that there is, simply voting our way out of this solution might not be feasible.
Well, and then how I even look at it more. So, as the joke goes, how do you know someone's an atheist or a vegan? Don't worry, they'll tell you. As someone who's not religious, I can even appreciate that, back when things were a little more simpler, our community was the church. It was the community hall. It was the speakeasies and the bars. It was that type of thing. That's where community was actually built. Like, that's when you knew your neighbor. Like, it's so weird seeing big places like Toronto, like Vancouver, that it's millions upon millions of people, but they're alone together. It's such a weird thing. Like, your neighbor across the hallway, you don't even know who they are. Like, you couldn't even bang on their door to say, like, hey, that's it. Like, you couldn't even engage with them. You have no idea who they are. You couldn't hold the door for the person because, like anyone in your building, you have no idea who these people are. But I see that government has replaced the church, replaced the community halls with themselves. It's like they've now taken the, whether it is through when we see the increase in taxation, that government says this is morally good for you to give up from force. I'll say this again. It is a moral good by force in order to take this money because we're going to help the world with it. You're ineffective with it. We're better with it. But I very much see that that's kind of how church and community centers worked. It was, hey, Bill's lawnmower broke down. We're trying to get donations so that he could get a new lawnmower. And that's how community worked. But now government has stepped in and said, well, no, we're going to carte blanche whatever the position is. Like, hey, if you're just no longer able to make that personal connection, it's to a faceless monolith that says do this or else. And I think we see this is the difference, the distinction that I make is that there's people who are selfless and there's people who are selfish. And I think people can't really differentiate between the two. Like, it's we value the soldier who throws himself on the grenade to save his community. We value the person who walks the old lady across the street, not because they're looking for something in return, because it was the right thing to do. It was a selfless act. Donating some of your time or your money to help maybe a stranger was seen as selfless, not selfish. You were never expected something in return. And we very much turned our eyes. What can I get out of it? As opposed to what can I give to someone? It's a weird inversion that I've noticed in society. And I've seen where the Liberal Party has gone, or just liberals in general have very much become to embody that. Well, what can you give me? Rather than what can I give to help you? It's really weird. Really weird. Sorry.
It's funny the way you explained that with the lawnmower. So a little about me. I was born in Iran. We had a revolution. Both the state and the religion turned against the people and started killing the people. So we not only lost faith in government, we lost faith in religion. But we still stayed spiritual. So a lot of the things that the Christians preach, honor thy father, thy mother, don't steal, don't lie. So we were taught the same things. But I was never part of the Christian community. But looking in, I have that same feeling. Like, the purpose of the church, one of the purposes was to say, don't be greedy. It's basically like a social intimidation to ensure. Let me turn off the background blurring. That's really bothering me. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Okay.
So the purpose of the church was basically like it's a form of voluntary welfare where the community got involved and everything worked well. And then I think this had already started to happen when I got here, where people started turning away from the church. All of those responsibilities got transferred to the government. And when we say the government, we're talking about law, bills, legislation. So now you're trying to legislate good behavior, and you just can't do that. Like imagine if you had to legislate how to properly treat a woman, on a date. It's so complicated. You can't do that. That's probably what you're describing. Yeah, it would be a super boring date.
Well, and we've seen that. Like, I remember seeing I think it was in New York, where the good bystander laws, like, you couldn't film someone. You had to, or I can't remember if they passed it. I want to say they did, but you had to actually go and help someone in distress, or you could be found guilty of whatever the crime that might befall them, whether it was that they died, or you might be charged with like manslaughter. You trying to push the view of, no, you're obligated to do this. You are now obligated to give up your life in service of someone else. Well, that's not that's not selfless anymore. Like you're now doing it. There's now an incentive structure attached to it. That's now a selfish action because I don't want to go to. I'm only helping this person because I'm gonna go to prison if I didn't do something. It is very a weird inversion that we have going on here.
I don't know if I'd consider it now a selfish act, but it's not one done for selfless reasons. You're being forced to. It's like taking someone to a homeless shelter and forcing them to help out if they don't actually want to. I don't know. I think it's kind of funny because you have police officers that, I mean, so many people are like, well, they're supposed to protect us. They're supposed to protect us. Technically, no, they don't have to. That's not in their job description. They're there to, help protect and serve, but doesn't mean they have to go run into the building that's being shot up. They don't have to do that.
Yeah,
I don't know. But they expect that of just regular citizens who don't have training is just wild to me.
This is why I actually every time I see a big shooting or something, in Manitoba, we had like a guy on a killing spree for days. RCMP couldn't find him. One of the worst mass killing events in Canadian history was a guy in Nova Scotia that dressed up as a RCMP officer and just walked into people's houses and started gunning people down.
Setting the house on fire. Yeah, it was horrible for days.
Yeah. And so every time I see these stories of a victim, or what was it I want to say in PEI, I'm sorry, I can't remember the exact places, but where 3 home intruders came into someone's house and one of them didn't make it out alive, and it wasn't the homeowner. They're still alive.
Good.
But and so when I see these stories, when I hear the stories of, let's just pull the Band-Aid off. When you see things like rape victims, or you see women being assaulted, or you see, someone being kidnapped or anything like that, all I can think of is this was preventable. This whole interaction was preventable if you allowed people the ability to defend themselves. But we have this weird inversion where the victim has less protections than the perpetrator. To me, that is wild. That is such a wild foreign concept that as the stereotype is, if a man approaches a woman and tries to force himself upon her, all she can do, this is the type of stuff that pisses me off, where the police says, you know what you should do? Vomit and soil yourself to stop them.
I mean, it definitely, I can push that button, it just comes when I want it to. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Exactly. Like we're not Komodo dragon.
Was smarter.
Like we don't have these
your tax dollars at work.
Yeah.
Right.
Or during the whole car thing when Toronto was saying, oh, well, just leave your keys at your front door so it's easier for them to take your car.
I was in the US when that happened, and people could pick up on my accent, and every state I went to, they're like, is it true that in Canada the cops are telling you to put the keys by the door? And I'm like, yeah. There was a time when we used to say stupid things about Americans, and now they're saying it about us.
I know. They're looking at us like, you guys have absolutely lost the plot. Absolutely lost the plot.
A little bit.
If
Let's go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to go back to your arguments about how we can't defend ourselves. That individual you mentioned, it might have been Saskatchewan. There was a farm where 3 boys tried to break into the farmer's property, steal his vehicle, and he fired a shot in the air, and then he tried to get the keys, and one of the boys ended up dying. Those boys they were actually First Nations, and I think it was the Minister of Justice came out and said, no, we're going to look into this, because originally he was found not guilty. And then the Prime Minister came out and said something. And then the Law Society in Toronto moved, hand in hand, marched against the farmer who defended his property. Now, whatever you believe, if you believe that was an act of racism, and the farmer, intentionally murdered them because he didn't like First Nations. The issue is when these things happen, you erode your right to self-defense. Like to me, that's what that was. When
Mhm.
I think it was Prime Minister Trudeau came out and said, you don't have a constitutional right, or he said you don't have a right in Canada to defend yourself with a gun. Well, that's
Yep.
not true. I'm not a lawyer, by any stretch of the imagination, but precedent law, like common law, allows you to defend yourself with a gun, but not when the Prime Minister comes out and says that. uh, what I feel is happening is the concept of sovereignty, individual sovereignty, is quickly evaporating. So where before you had a mom and a dad, and they made all the decisions, they took care of the kids, they fed for them, provided for them, defended for them. Now we're slowly moving towards a more communist system where the government has usurped that role, and that
Mhm.
includes self-defense. So right now, like if I walked up to Tyler and punched him in the face, it's almost like he has no recourse except to call the cops.
Yeah. And it actually it bothers me that this is the type of stuff that happens, that Payman could walk up to me and punch me in the face, and I can't pull his pants down and like, haha. Like I have no it is really bothersome that even when we have a position that, hey, you know what? I thought like liberals and all this stuff. I thought they were about protecting women, protecting minorities. And as you said, the discussion, you know what, can we just let racism die the bloody death it should have died like 30 years ago? Can we stop keeping this bloody thing on life support? Not
Right.
everything is about race. Not everything is about a subconscious bias and implied, this and that and all, like, just no. We just, I wish we could let this stuff die. The most successful shows when I was growing up was Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. That was the most successful show. And it was a bunch of black guys. Well, black family. All in the family. Like all of this was about
Cosby
black people.
Show.
Yeah, the Cosby Show, even
Well,
Spanish Fly.
not the best
but-
example.
Not
Maybe
now.
not. Well, as long as you don't think about the Bill Cosby part.
But that's what we were actually a part of. We looked at it. I never looked at someone's skin color and went, you're inferior. Never. It was always, what do you think? Either that deduces whether you're inferior or superior.
Well,
In
see,
intelligence, not skin. That's the most ass backwards thing. And the only people that I see, shut up, Kim. The only people that I see actually trying to keep fighting for this stuff, I remember when Roe v. Wade got overturned in the United States. The only people that cared about race singled out the one black man, Clarence Thomas,
yeah,
and started hurling racist stuff at him specifically.
Mhm.
You, N-word. Look at what you made me do, N-word. That's where we've gone. And
Well, see-
now we also had a couple members of parliament say the same things, not naming names, but he lives in a very big house and his father was not there.
See, the thing is too, with all of that stuff, like with the whole racism and whatnot, like you look at now where everybody is literally trying to change everything because they're gonna make Spider-Man or Captain America black or whatever, or insert this race into this character because they want to appeal to those similar to, and to we want them to look at that and be able to insert themselves in there, to be able to relate to. This is where I'm trying to go with here, because everyone's like, well, I don't look at a blonde fish or a freaking redheaded fish girl and think, well, they're talking to me, or I can envision myself in this. So they have to insert new things into it. You know what I'm trying to get at here. I'm not doing very well because I feel like I'm messing this up and I'm wording it so bad. But where I'm trying to get to here is, when I was younger watching things like Fresh Prince and stuff like that, I never looked at it going, where's the white blonde girl in there that I can relate to? Do you know what I mean? No, I wanted to be part of that family. I felt like I was part of the Bel Air Fresh Prince family. You know what I mean? Like,
Payment.
I didn't
Yeah.
need to see someone that looked like me to be able to have the same emotions, have the same feelings, have the same, when Will Smith with his dad, he left when he was younger. I didn't look at him going, well, he's a black man, so I can't relate to that, even though my dad left when I was young. You know what I mean? Like, it has nothing to do with skin color. Like, everyone's
I
putting so much emphasis on it. It's just, sorry.
I can give you an example. Like when I was a kid, there was two Disney movies. One was Beauty and the Beast. One was Aladdin. It's not like I could not relate to Beauty and the Beast because the cast was white, and none of the white kids could relate to Aladdin because the protagonist was whatever Middle Eastern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a superficial characteristic, but they're exaggerating it.
Mhm.
I wanted to I like looking at the core issue, so I'm gonna mention a couple of things that might be seemingly unrelated. So the Canadian flag for the longest time, you had the trucker convoy where it represented terrorism, insurrection. And then all of a sudden Donald Trump comes up with these tariffs and the left drops the Ukraine flag and takes back the Canadian flag. And now
Mhm.
all down my street, all of a sudden we got patriots that popped up overnight.
Right?
Like that is one example. Another one I'll give is let's draw a line: anti-vaxxer. So there was people that were against anti-vaxxers. There was anti-Russian sentiment after that,
Mhm.
and now there's anti-American sentiment. So it's this divide and conquer thing. Like they're just trying to make people, put them into an emotional frenzy, and they can control them better.
Yeah, and I think it is like, but we've seen that, like, the way that we try to communicate, and liberals have been very good at this, that they control narrative, or they control language, just as the whole thing, whether it was with like trans people, or whether it was with racism or anti-racism or anti-fascist, all of these things, what we in normal society view as, well, anti-racist. Okay, so being racist, having racist as a central theme in how your interactions with other people go. Well, that sounds like racism. You're already making preconceived or stereotypical assumptions about someone based on their skin color. Okay, so that's racism. What they've allowed, or I shouldn't say what they've allowed, what they've successfully done is controlled language. Trans women are women. Well, now they move to women. Trans women are women. There's no difference. There's no distinction. And I think it's very much the idea that there's the unthinking majority, people who, as Bill Burr said, I turn the TV on, mask, no mask. I don't think about it. I just do what I'm told. And there's very much those types of people. It's just whatever it is. Okay, I don't know. A trans person is whatever. You can be whatever you want. You can identify as whatever you want. It's actually deconstructionism. It's actually destroying reality where you can't conceive what reality really is. Like if we were to talk about a chair, you could visualize a chair. We might have maybe a different interpretation on the nitty gritty, but you get the idea. But if I said a chair was my phone, well, we're talking two completely different things, and that's what they've allowed to have happen. Whether it is about money inequality or race inequality, all of these types of words that they've now co-opted, we can't convey thought to each other. And the thought is the real crux of all of this. It's very Orwellian. It's really Orwellian.
So there's another word that they've co-opted, which is even more sinister. The word democracy. So
Yeah.
to the average person like you and I, the three of us, democracy would mean something like you vote for your leaders, plebiscite kind of thing.
But didn't
But
you experience the purest form of democracy in Iran? To me,
what
democracy is absolute chaos. I think they're actually
yeah,
exactly
yeah.
correct in how they're describing democracy.
Okay, but you're right. So the 51% thing, what we, in my mind, parliamentary supremacy and what we saw during COVID, that was democracy. The reason that the U.S. didn't go through the crap that we went is because they're a republic, not a
Mhm.
democracy. So they have, guardrails on their government. So that I agree. But what's going on in the U.S. and it's happening here too. Um, so if you go on the Green Party website, if you read the platform, one of the things they do, they actually attack Donald Trump. They say that he's usurping democracy. What they're saying is that he's using the will of the people. They voted him in, and now he's dismantling the organs of government. So, like USAID, the State Department, the Department of Homeland Security, like these things are the democracy that they're talking about. So, for you and I, it's the voters. For them, it's the government. There's another one that they've co-opted.
Yeah, they've absolutely like for anyone that doesn't know, democracy is the absolute. We got a taste of it during COVID. We really got a taste of pure democracy. The majority ruling over the minority. But I see a lot of these types of things. So you know what? Maybe we'll get into it with when you see things like how do I work this gizmo? I'll figure it out one day. But when you see things like this, so like no, I'll just read a little bit. So this is from the Post Millennial. So a trans-identified male that presents as female, I think, if I can remember. I can't keep up with their stuff. But trans-identified male charged with vandalizing Chicago area Tesla service centers. A trans-identified male has been arrested and charged with the vandalizing of a newly built Tesla service center located in Buffalo Grove, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago. This comes as Tesla dealerships and service centers have been the targets of increasing attacks across the country. Aaron L. White, previously known as Evan, okay, so it was a male that transitioned to a woman. Got it. Has been
There.
charged with felony criminal damage to property and misdemeanor criminal trespass. Yada yada yada. All right, so they had things like, Trump sold us, F Elon, trans rights are human rights. See, that's another one of those things that makes, once you scratch the surface, their arguments fall apart. They have no idea what they're actually talking about. It's just sloganeering. It actually doesn't mean anything. We've seen in Montreal just this week, they did very much the same thing to a Tesla service center. They spray painted all over it. They defaced it. We've seen Tesla service centers shot at, charge stations burned. One idiot caught himself on fire because that's how stupid these people
Nice.
Karma.
Yeah.
Love
Yeah.
it.
This, and you see this is the type of stuff. This is the type of stuff that they go like, look, this is for equality. They lost their shit on us when we said, hey, you know what? Bud Light? Nah, no, we're just not going to shop there. As I posted on X, and like, the left lost their minds with us boycotting Bud Light. We just said, like, what else do you got on tap? That was it. We didn't burn down. Like, can anyone tell me a
Right?
Bud Light brewery or an Anheuser-Busch brewery that was burned down, was shot at, all of this crap?
The
The only
the
thing
only
was,
thing it was when Kid Rock fired a machine gun, but that was
yeah,
on private property. It was he bought the cans.
Exactly.
exactly.
Yeah,
I don't. It's the same thing when
that was
like
great.
people, people were burning their own flags or burning their, they break their CDs because they don't like the band anymore. It's like they already got their money. What?
Right?
What's
Or
it?
that
Shows
one
that,
idiot,
yeah.
that
Yeah.
one idiot that bought a Tesla just to destroy it. Really, what was the purpose of that? Like, are you really that retarded? I'm sorry, I'm going to say the word. Like, you bought a Tesla, so you gave your money to Elon, and then you went and destroyed it. For one, do you think insurance is actually going to cover your own vandalism? Probably not. And two, you already gave Elon his money. Like, do you think he really cares what you do with the car after the fact? He's rolling it in. All right, thanks. You do you. I don't know. It's so dumb.
Well, and we see it. Well, you've seen in maybe I'll play the video in a little bit, but you've seen the same people who were buying Teslas. In fact, when I was selling one of my semis, the two gentlemen that came out, one of them owned a Tesla. And I said, like, asking questions, how do you like it? How does it perform in the winter? You got, the general questions you ask about, an emerging technology. And I had asked, Why did you get it? And he said, well, because of the environment, because we were looking to, we wanted to help the environment. So those are probably people who, probably maybe a little left leaning, maybe a little left of center. They're not fanatics. They're also not hardcore conservatives, but they're just, hey, you know what? I'm concerned about the environment and I'm trying to make it a little bit better for my grandchildren. But you had the same people who were saying that we need to stop oil, we need to save the environment, now running up to these people and attacking them. Like, Payman, did you see during the whole Target boycott that people were making interactive maps so that they could go find where people bought Teslas, where they live, and burn them, key them, wipe shit on them? Did you see that at all? Oh yeah. There's a video of a guy giving what's it called from Mallrats? Stink palm, where he sticks his hand down his butt crack and wipes crap all over the car.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd ever do that myself. On so many levels, that's disturbing.
Right, he's literally walking around with poop hanging out of his butt. Like, that disturbs me. I think even ill.
But
yeah,
you didn't see this.
Something I don't want to really think about.
It's stuck in my head. I can picture him.
Great, thanks for that.
Digging.
No, I can't get it out of my head. No, stop.
Moving along, I wanted to tackle sort of the psychology component of that. What the left is really good at is going to the young people, the youth that are rebellious, and they're giving them a cause to rebel. So they're brainwashing them. They're saying that the world's going to melt in. It's always, 20 years? They always renew it after 20 years. But they're like, we're all going to die. The ice caps are going to melt, and they get AOC out there with their bartender face to whip these kids up. And then they wind them up and they unleash them on society, and they do stupid things like this. Mm-hmm. Why do they get away with it? Well, before Trump, they got away with it because they controlled the media. Still, they do control all the institutions, and there is still a lot of money behind it where they go in jail, and Kamala Harris comes out and starts getting fundraising money for getting him on bail. So they're rewarding bad. First of all, they're encouraging the bad behavior, and then they're rewarding the bad behavior. There's no punishment. And I guess the onus falls on us to figure out a way to break this cycle without resorting to their tactics.
So with that being said, so we just had we our last guest that we had on, we had gotten into the discussion of, my view is government is the culmination of our morality. As much as I hate government, as much as I dislike the monolith that government is, our laws are where our moral line is. Culturally, where our moral line is. Most of us have a problem with abortion up to and including birth. Most of us have a problem with that. But there's also not a lot of people that are abortion abolitionists. They're somewhere in the middle. And that's where our laws actually come from. And so how do you, or how does the PPC kind of view that? Like, how could government be used as a mechanism, or would you kind of share that same idea that government is like, it is actually a part of us? I'm butchering how I'm trying to describe this.
Government is downstream from culture.
Yeah, it very much is. So I that's normally what I say, but I'm, as Kim said the word, so how would you guys try and tackle this stuff? Canceled.
Swear jar.
How would you guys look at tackling this type of stuff?
I don't think there is a political solution, because it's downstream from culture, and you have to tackle it through the cultural, from the cultural perspective, and it is happening. So since COVID, we've seen all these quote unquote freedom groups pop up, where it never really existed in Canada. They had this culture in the US, but not Canada. So they've sprung up, and they could never affect political change because they weren't organized. They're very disorganized, and they still are. When I reach out to these freedom groups and I say, I'm running for the People's Party, let's work together, they're like, we don't want to get involved in politics. I'm like, all right, well, good luck saving your country.
I've never understood that idea. Okay, I don't want to get involved in politics. I just want to, I just want to live my life. I want to spend my time with my kids and all that stuff. I'm like, I get it, but politics is very much interested in you. Even if you're not interested in politics, whether you know how you want to view your life or however you want to live your life, if you're not willing to defend your rights, there's someone that is, and they will impose their rights. As I said, our laws are our morality. So if someone's moral compass says abortion up to and including birth, well, then all of a sudden that becomes the norm. If you make more than $100,000, you're an evil bigot and you should lose every dollar you've ever had. If you decide that you want to move somewhere, well, we should actually seize your property. That's where our moral lines are being pushed to. So I would love for politics to get the hell out of my life. But unfortunately, this where I see things going is.
Let me jump in and answer a couple of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Why are people not involved in politics? If you've ever lived in if you've ever owned a building unit, like an apartment unit, you have strata meetings. I hate attending those strata meetings. It's only like 3 hours of my life, but I dread it, and I only go when my maintenance costs go up, like monthly maintenance fees. So it's people have that same people have the same view with politics, and I get it. Like they're working 2 jobs. Their kid's a pain in the ass. They got then every once in a while they want to take their family on vacation. That's part of the reason. Another part of the reason is when the government goes after, like the way government expands its power is by screwing over one person. Mm-hmm. So like go in and seize one person's land, and then all of a sudden expropriation laws are expanded. But like the 3 of us don't care. We can still do this podcast. Some guy out in Saskatchewan gets his property rights violated. They're doing that, right? Bit by bit.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I have noticed that people are starting to wake up and they are starting to get ready to get involved. And when I say involved, they're willing to sacrifice their happiness to fix their country.
And I'm happy that is starting to happen, that people are starting to actually, hey, no, that I'm not okay with that. I've thought of this. Did we aren't that far removed from Nazi Germany. We're not that far removed from Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge, the Mao's revolution, the Great Leap Forward, all of these types of communist genocide, Stalin, yada yada. And I think we actually just got smarter. I don't think those inclinations went away. We just got smarter, because it was a shock to the system to see when these marches went, when you seen the piles of dead bodies. We just got smarter with it. It's no longer that in your face. It's out of compassion. It's for the love of your neighbor. You should be thanking your neighbor. You should be doing all of these types of things. And I've noticed, I shouldn't say I noticed it, but I've theorized, or at least I've internalized that we've gotten better at committing these crazy atrocities, but we put it with a smile on our face. And it's a slower type of thing, as opposed to, like I said, I don't know, Nazi Germany. It wasn't like they were all happy when their lederhosen, with quaffs of beer. It was a slow progression, and then all of a sudden, then it was all at once. And so I wonder if maybe these types of people have just gotten smarter in how they do it. Or maybe once they hit a critical mass, that it's like, well, okay, what are you going to do? You don't have guns to defend yourself. What are you going to do?
I was talking to a former feminist, and she said, the fascist regimes of the past, they were masculine, whereas the fascist regimes of today, they're more feminine. I think she was describing the welfare state. And you're right. They have gotten smarter. So you don't see dead bodies on the streets. You don't see people cracking people's skulls on the streets. So what's there to complain about? You got your Starbucks coffee, and I don't know, you got your shared vehicle. So what if you don't own your property because you're paying property tax?
You're fat and happy. You're content. Yeah. All your basic needs, and this is very much the idea that, like Karl Marx as described, you shouldn't have to work. You should be allowed to kind of just bask and laissez-faire and
Oh,
enjoy
that'd
yourself.
be nice.
You're entitled to the work of another person. Speaking of work from another person, how about an African American that these people seem to hate? Because apparently this is the Tesla episode. This is from over your neck of the woods, Payman. What are you guys doing over there?
I always
Vancouver.
say everything bad in Canada comes out of BC.
Not
So
everything. I mean, we
so-
are the murder capital over here, but
Yeah.
We'll catch up. Give us time.
So this is from the AP News. So Vancouver International Auto Show removes Tesla, citing safety concerns at event. Tesla has been removed from participating in this week's Vancouver International Auto Show over safety concerns, the event executive director said Tuesday. Eric Nichols said in a statement that the show asked the electric car maker to withdraw because of a primary concern for the safety of workers, attendees, and exhibitors. Nichols said Tesla was provided multiple opportunities to voluntarily withdraw. They said no. This decision will ensure all attendees can be solely focused on enjoying the many positive elements of the event. The show is at the Vancouver Convention Center, begins Wednesday and will end Sunday. The automaker's removal comes after so-called Tesla takedown protests over the weekend, including in Ottawa and Vancouver, that denounced Tesla CEO Elon Musk and his role advising U.S. President Donald Trump, who has infuriated Canadians with talk of making Canada the 51st state of the United States. Bullshit, AP News. I'm sorry. I hate that. I hate when they conflate things that are absolutely not related in any way, shape, or form. They have been going after Musk for exposing their money laundering, for exposing their corruption. Musk has never said anything, at least as far as I've seen. Mind you, I'm not watching every single one of his posts. Some of us have a life to live. I don't think he said anywhere about 51st state.
Even if he did, like, really, this is how you're going to react. I think it's so sad to me when you see clearly there's a line. You have your lefts and your rights, right? I agree with your statements too. However, I don't think the left would allow it. Just saying.
They only hate the other African Americans, not an actual African American.
Right?
Oh, you're talking about Elon Musk, who's South African.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it now. I thought you were talking about Clarence Thomas.
No.
No.
As far as I know, he's American. He
America.
didn't immigrate, but
the thing is, like, what I notice between your left and your right, and I'm talking your more extreme lefts, I guess, but they are willing to literally burn the entire country down just to be heard, just to feel special, just to I don't even know what, just to whatever.
They're a rebel without a cause.
But
honestly, that's what they are.
People on the right. Okay, do you know how many people did not like Joe Biden? Did not like Kamala Harris? Did you see them shooting stuff up, burning shit down because they didn't like them? No, guess what? They used their voice, they used their vote, they got what they wanted in. But then you have all these people, they're like, no, I don't want to be can't put baby in the corner. No, I want to be special. So I'm going to set this on fire, set that on fire. What is burning a bunch of Teslas and stuff like that and destroying them and hurting people? How is that proving your point? Is that making you look completely unhinged? You don't look like a sane person. Why would anybody listen to you? For one. And two, I actually feel really bad for Elon because he's trying to do something good for America, whether you like him or not. What he's trying to do, he has really good intentions behind it. And he doesn't need to do this. He really doesn't.
Can you believe the son of a bitch is trying to put wires in people's heads so that people who are paraplegic, quadriplegic are able to move with severed spines? What an evil, vile human being.
The audacity.
I thought it was funny how the left, like, they struggled because Elon Musk, he had like his transition towards the right, it happened slowly at first, and then he did an interview where he said that the country's insolvent and we got to stop the subsidies. But
Mhm.
then at some point, probably when Trump got the shot, or maybe before when he bought X, he made the switch, and the left went crazy. And I talked to a lot of leftists because I'm in, sadly, Vancouver, and they're just saying like, oh my god, he's such a racist. I'm like, what? Did something change in the last 24 hours? Like before you loved him because he was creating these batteries, and now all of a sudden he's a racist, and there's no cohesion in their arguments.
Yeah, there's
It's
none. It's strictly ideological. It is the message is never the message. The message is the revolution. This is why you could see the summer of love when BLM was out rioting. Weird. The only places that were really impacted were black businesses. David Dorn, police officer, retired, shot dead over a TV.
yeah,
That's
I
what
don't
they
know
did.
how that goes for black rights, but all right.
But then you even had celebrities out in Hollywood saying, while the BLM protests were going on there, they're like, yeah, you show them, you get them, boys and Zers and they thems and whatever else, until they came to his neighborhood. They're like, no, go to the poor neighborhoods. That's what this dude said.
Oh, do you remember when was it Abbott or DeSantis? They took a whole bunch of illegals and they dropped them off on Martha's Vineyard,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they freaked out.
yeah,
Like, what are all these illegals doing here? This is a rich community.
yeah. They don't belong here. They're so outraged. Yeah,
Like, get the
and
Mexicans out of here.
yeah. Like, I thought you guys wanted this. And
Yeah.
I know Maxime has talked about a moratorium on immigration. I see what's going on. We've seen the calls for in Abbotsford, where they did a referendum. The Khalistani supporters had called for a referendum to secede from Canada, to actually leave Canada. We've seen in Brampton. We've seen in Surrey. These big places. Those are big cities. I'm kind of at the point where, you know what? If you don't want to be here, if you come to another country and want to change it fundamentally, to actually change Canada from being, whether it's a Christian state or whatever, Christian nation, even, okay, I have my qualms with it. Okay. Different topic. But when you are trying to impose a religion on people or even trying to tear it apart, like being in the transportation industry, I think it's like 60 or 70% of people in the transportation industry are Middle Eastern, are first generation immigrants. And they've come here within the last 10 years. And I've talked to guys who have been here for 10 or more than 10 years, 15, 20 years. And every single one I've heard them say is the guys that are coming in here now, they're screwing it up for everyone. We hate these people. We don't want them here. They're not trying to make Canada better.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like we've discussed in
No,
previous.
hold on.
Oh, sorry.
The question was, can we actually like look at getting these people out of here?
Look, it's a tough question. So I mentioned I came here in '89. When I was here in '89, like I was a kid and I didn't realize it at the time, but I was recognizing the decay of society. So I call it an immune system. Like the culture is an immune system, and you
Mhm.
defend and protect your culture. You were alluding to the church. I don't know when this happened. Like maybe it was the charter in '82. Maybe it was they had a bilingual and bicultural commission in the '60s. Um, Canada has been inching more and more towards this multiculturalism, and now we're seeing the effects of it.
Mhm.
When you go to different countries, I've worked in many different countries around the world. When you're a guest and you don't try to change their culture, they will literally lynch you if you do that. We
Yeah.
don't do that here. We have a prime minister that encouraged that. He said we're a post-nationalist state. Another thing is you're supposed to have like a hazing period. We call it assimilation. When I came here in '89, I had an ESL, English second language teacher, who refused to allow me to talk to the other Iranian kids because I would play with them because we spoke the same language. We were kind of, you don't, when you
Right.
first arrive, everybody's picking on you. You don't get along. And she said, no, you have to hang out with the kind of English kids, Canadian kids, so that you learn English, so that you make friends. We don't have that. We don't have assimilation. And we're getting all these ghettos. You mentioned Brampton, the Sikhs, and wherever they are. This is like society's falling down, and the People's Party and many movements, other parties, the Alberta sovereigntist movement, the
Mhm.
freedom groups, they're Canadians saying, all right, enough is enough. We had enough fun. Now we need to get the adults in the room and take back our country. I think it can be done. A moratorium is a small part of that, but we need to get involved.
I actually really think that we need to get involved in a big way. Like we've been browbeat big time that we're racist, we're homophobic, we're every istanphobe, we're under the sun. And I've always argued in fact it's the exact opposite. We are so tolerant. We are so accepting of other cultures. It's the same douchebags that say it's not Hawaii, it's Hawaii, or it's not Paris, it's Peri. It's not Mexico, it's Mexico. It's those types of people that are so willing to actually curtail their own culture and customs to allow someone else. Some people, when they go into someone's house, my family, you always took your shoes off. Well, there's some other people that's like, no, I keep my shoes on and I never take my shoes off. It's like, no. You're in my house. You are a guest here.
Yeah.
Just as I respect your traditions in your house, you're sure as hell going to respect the traditions in my house. And so I think because we've been so tolerant, we've been so hospitable, that we've allowed I don't want to say the worst people of society, but I want to say the people who are able to exploit that. And now we've kind of found ourselves in this weird position.
So I look at it a little bit differently. I think the erosion of the situation that we're in, where culture has been destroyed, is a symptom of government wanting to accumulate more rights. So when you create the issue of racism, it's like, to me, people have a right to be racist. That's between them and God. That's between them and their spouse. That's between them and their parents. The parents should teach them. But as soon as you criminalize racism, that means that you need a third party to adjudicate that. That third party is government. So government grows. When government grows, they get more money. You can think of a company, entering a new market. So government has an incentive, and they somehow trick the people into thinking that racism is this really evil thing, and government has to come in and regulate it. To me, it's not even government should not be in the business of regulating how people think. There are bad people out there. Deal with it. It's just a reality. Move to a community with better people. Just focus on making your community better, your people better.
Well, and even what they consider racism, it has nothing to do with even skin color anymore. Like it's such a weird thing. I wonder, you have audio, right?
Sure.
I know it's kind of a stupid question to ask, but like, can you see as well?
See what? Your screen? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can see this. You can see that beautiful African American man on the left side.
Yeah.
I wanted to play this. This was from The Daily Show.
Jim, they're taking to the streets or the parking lots.
Tonight, the FBI and ATF now investigating multiple cases of possible arson targeting Teslas and Cybertrucks.
This dramatic video shows multiple
Are they
cars in
cheering?
flames. Police say the attacker used Molotov cocktails. It's the latest in more than a dozen instances of arson and vandalism targeting Tesla.
The same suspect shot more Teslas with a gun. Tesla Cybertrucks were set on fire in Kansas City, and earlier this month, shots fired at a Tesla dealership in Oregon. Cybertrucks on fire in Seattle.
Wow, you guys like petty acts of domestic terrorism, huh? Jim.
They were cheering, dude.
Yeah.
That's messed up.
So can I just juxtapose two things there? It is messed up, Kim. Yeah. They are cheering for their side. I remember. Do you remember Rittenhouse when he killed those
Mhm.
people that tried to lynch him?
Yep.
Um, I remember I was excited. I heard about that news at like 7 a.m. And I was hungover. But then when I heard about it, I was like, oh yeah, they finally acquitted the guy. But
I
but
was so
like you,
excited. Mhm.
I was totally excited. But here's the reason why. Like you pick a side. In their case, like what are they fighting for? In their minds, they're fighting tyranny and oppression. I guess Trump is a fascist. Um, on our side, I was fighting for property rights. Like he was a
Mhm.
lawful gun owner and he was defending, and I think it was cars actually as well. People were coming in vandalizing cars, and he was
Yep.
defending it. That's a sovereign individual. That's an individualist, like responsible citizen. Whereas these guys, this is like a hive mind. Let's just go in and destroy. I think they're completely in the wrong. But they probably look at me and they think, oh, Payman supported some guy committing cold blooded murder. We're
Wasn't murder
like
though.
this is irreconcilable, is what I'm saying.
Self-defense.
That's the main issue. You nailed it right there. These are irreconcilable differences. We used to agree that, you know what, hey, uh taxes should be increased 1% or 2%. Like that was mostly the difference. We mostly agreed 90% on problems. The last 10% was really the difference. Okay, we see a problem here. What's the best solution? Well, it might be, whatever the issue might be. We mostly agree that there's an issue, but how we resolve it. But now we have people who are, as you said, willing to lynch people, who are mobbing communities. Like that it I'll say this is outright terrorism. It's not that this is, as I said before, this isn't some little, a little spat. This isn't a boycott. It's not when you make an interactive map to find out where people live, to key their cars, to wipe crap on them, to shoot them up, to burn them, to do all of this type of insanity. This is textbook terrorism. And the fact that we are allowing this to happen in Canada as well, and it's cheered for, the Vancouver Auto Show is holding this same position that, well, we don't want to rile up the basement dwellers and the blue hair freaks.
The fact that people are curtailing to that as opposed to what's actually right is insane. Everybody's just worried about somebody else's fifis. That's it. Instead of being like, okay, guys, let's grow up here. It's a freaking car. It's an auto show.
I'll give this to them, though. They're damn effective. That's what really sucks. They're good at it. They're really, really good at getting people, you either get in line or we'll destroy you.
Can I let me share my thoughts on why I think they're effective. So everybody knows George Soros is in the US is going around buying corrupt prosecutors. In Canada, they've done it. Everything that they do illegally in America, because they can't do it legally, we just do it legally here. Like we did it with immigration. And then with Trudeau, he's just pushing through all of these activist judges. So when you have activist judges, if you have one person who protests legally in Ottawa, you freeze their accounts. If you have another person that threatens to blow up a Tesla at the auto show, you let them go. So that's one way that this happens. So this is what I was talking about, how like if there's no punishment, you're essentially rewarding bad behavior.
Mm-hmm.
I go to a lot of events on Vancouver Island. Vancouver Island, Victoria is our capital, is even more woke. I didn't even think this was possible. It's even more woke than downtown Vancouver. And every time we go to an event, first of all, Antifa shows up and they just threaten to firebomb the hotel, so we lose that venue. We lose another venue. Eventually, at some point, you end up in a church because
Do you
they're
ever
the
see them?
only. I do. They come up in front of the church. They have their balaclavas on. They look like terrorists. They look like the psychopath.
No, but have you ever sued like the hotel? Like if you have an event book, I'm sure there's something in a contract or clause or whatever of canceling. Like I would actually be seeking like a remedy that way. Like, no, we have an agreement, and now you guys are backtracking on whatever is actually going on.
I haven't done it. I haven't heard of anyone doing it. It's always a risk, right? Like, do you really want to invest 70 grand in a lawsuit that's going to go nowhere because of the activist judges?
Right. Yeah, I know. I've noticed that too. that in Canada, the US is willing to fight. And that is one thing I really admire about the United States. Like, everyone says, oh, look, they're so litigious. They'll sue you over anything and everything. No, they'll fight for their rights.
Yeah.
And we just don't. We just kind of let it, well, well, that happens and carry on.
Oh,
It is, yeah. Even trying to sue some MPs that have blocked us. Well, Ezra Levant, he set the precedence that when Stephen Guilbeault blocked him, like, okay, now the precedence is set. Hey, lawyers, like, certain individuals have blocked us because we've criticized their position or the things that they've said. Now we can't even I look at it this way. If someone from, if someone from a different riding is sitting there saying, I am now dictating what you people in Winnipeg are doing, whatever riding. Well, you are no longer representing your constituents. I am now by de facto, you are now a representative of me. You're no longer fighting for the people of, Toronto, whatever. You're now fighting for the people of Winnipeg riding wherever. You get what I'm saying? I'm butchering it, but I don't know.
Could you phrase the question in a different way, maybe?
Like when I see an MP who is saying that, hey, we are fighting against, what would be a good example? Okay, let's say the battery plant or a environmental policy. Okay, let's go with environmental policy. They're fighting for whatever it is, waterway, blah blah blah. An MP out of my riding is now dictating what my riding should do. And I think because you are now advocating, you're no longer advocating for your constituents, you are now advocating against my MP's constituents.
I see what you mean. If there's an MP in Toronto that says, I think Vancouver Island should have no more parking stalls, something like that?
Yeah. Yeah, because it endangers, the wetland habitat of, whatever. It's like, well, wait. You're a completely different riding. Like, you have no say here. I think we've really kind of blurred that line.
Yeah, but there's no integrity in politics anymore. It's all about clicks. It's all about. Look, I was listening into a debate between the four main parties. You had one was the New Blue Party, you had the Progressive Conservative Party, the NDP, and the Liberals. And with the exception of the New Blue, all three of them, their promises were just like, we're going to build a new university, we're going to build a new rec center, we're going to spend money on this, spend money on that, and that's how you get votes. Unfortunately. Like people, they have this there's something wrong with humanity where we think like if somebody isn't spending money, they're not helping us. They don't realize it's your money. Like if it was a strata and the strata council says like, we're going to build a gold-plated statue over here and we're going to give everyone a free Tesla, you would say like, wait a minute, that's my money. F off, right? But
yeah,
politics is crazy.
I think it's a lot of like first order thinking. People just, our government thinks like it's their money. It's not my money. It's their money. They're entitled
100%.
to. It's such a weird thing. So I think it was, I can't remember if it was Squirrel D's Nuts or whatever, had brought this up. I wanted to get into this because really talking about culture, this bothers me. I'm not a hockey fan. I hate hockey. I'm the worst Canadian. Okay, I accept my flaws.
And he doesn't like Tim Hortons either. I mean,
I hated Tim Hortons before it was cool. So I'm a trendsetter.
You like your bacon and your maple syrup, so you're okay.
I do.
We forgive you.
Payman, have you ever had maple flavored Crown Royal?
I've had maple flavored shots with bacon in them.
Oh, snap! You out Canadianed me.
So this is from the New York Post. So Wayne Gretzky statue in Canada smeared with poop over hockey legends Trump friendship. A stinky-handed vandal smeared feces on a Wayne Gretzky statue in Canada after the hockey fight. Yeah, yeah, right.
The same Tesla guy. God, that man. He's just full of shit.
Yeah, garnered ire for maintaining his close relationship with this country's newest enemy, Donald Trump. The statue of the former Edmonton Oilers great, which stands outside the team's home arena of Rogers Place in Edmonton, emitted a notable stench Friday morning as workers wiped away the disturbing fecal matter, the bronze version of Gretzky's face, or from the bronze version. The poop slinger remains at large, and while it's unclear if his motives are politically driven,
Slinger. Obviously, they're politically driven. Like, that's the dumbest statement I've ever heard. It's unaware. You don't know. Oh, I don't know.
Be a coincidence, yeah.
yeah, just a total coincidence that the left has like absolutely turned on. There was a photo at Wayne Gretzky. He's old. He's old. I don't know if you guys know this. The dude's old. But he had the photo that was taken, it looked like he had orange hair. And they said, look, he's turning into his idol.
Oh my God.
It's like some like Stan, like Eminem Stan. He died, bleached his hair, started wearing a white beater and all. It's like,
I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, I
like,
don't
none of
understand.
this. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I don't understand the TDS that people have. Like, really, like, why are you so focused on the whole Trump thing? You should be looking more overseas at our actual bigger threat that we have over there. You know, we're going to turn into China soon. Like, come on, can we focus on that? Like, why is everybody focusing on freaking Donald Trump? Like,
think
instead of the
Donald
orange
Trump-
man, red dragon. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, but
Sorry.
he
That just got us booted.
represents. No, he represents everything that the cities hate. You know, individual responsibility, limited government, constitutional checks and balances, and then our government that they can't be responsible. That they're using they're kind of like channeling that anger, and they're encouraging stuff like this, like throwing feces at the statue.
this is such.
So gross.
I used to joke when I said like the left is uncivilized, animals. Remember that video? The monkey
They are.
hurling crap at people in a zoo? That's what these people are. And in fact, I'm pretty sure spreading fecal matter on things is a biological hazard. That's a
Right?
biological contamination. This
100%.
person should be charged. This
It,
person
it
should be
releases
charged.
CO2. Yeah, it's bad
Yeah.
for the environment.
No, but actually, like even like
You're
blood,
not
like if
wrong,
you
Barry.
can't put blood, like if you sprayed blood on someone like intentionally, or wiped feces on them, or any bodily fluids, that's an actual biohazard. The people
and
that
it's
came in
assault.
there, well, the people that came in there to clean it, you need special training to clean up fecal matter, like any biohazard contaminations. Like this is actually a big. I don't know.
It's
You know
fine.
what? At this point,
Pfizer is going to be releasing a new vaccine soon.
I wouldn't be surprised. My heart doesn't hurt enough already, damn it.
Right? Oh my God.
So what I've seen a lot of people, and I know we have 10 minutes left, so I see a lot of people are criticizing the PPC that with things like, the split the vote thing. But also that the PPC only seems to come around during election time. What could you say to people that are pushing this stuff? I see a lot of
Well-
big CPC guys saying this type of stuff.
I mean, it's freedom of speech. They can say whatever they want, but like the split the vote thing, it always struck me as a cowardly argument. Like if I if I have a party when I was a kid and I have a crush on a girl, and I'm a fat kid and I say all my friends like, don't talk to her, I want to talk to her. Well, that's what it feels like with the Conservative Party. They're saying that they can't win on their own merits. Like, don't split the vote. Well, why don't you focus on reforming your party so that it doesn't suck, because you're drifting to the left. So now your hardcore right base doesn't want you. Leftists don't want you because they have better alternatives. Like, come up with a better strategy. But like at the PPC, you really need to develop thick skin, because you just get pummeled daily. Like, you're splitting the vote. You don't have any seats, so you can say whatever you want. But and then Max is just going to the US and he's doing these. It's relentless, right? So what
Mhm.
I say is just focus on your values, on your principles, and just focus on doing what you believe is right for your country. And if the country thinks that what I'm doing is not right, I'm splitting the vote, they're welcome to not vote for me.
I've I think I said at the start, like my shift was from like I still am a classical liberal. I still hold those ideas of a classical liberal. I'm not a conservative. I'm not. I hate conservative values. I shouldn't say hate,
No, you
but
don't.
I, I,
Yeah.
I have a lot of contentions with conservative values, and I've had to struggle with that same thing, with that same idea of, okay, well, do I bite my tongue and just kind of, what? Pierre's not what I want, but you know what? He's sure better than Carney or Trudeau, which I think is irrelevant. I think it's the idea. And as you said on the outset, culture is down, or politics is downstream from culture. And so if we actually had people who were strong, who were willing, I've reached out to conservative members, not one responded. No one's even whiffed at us to even talk without,
Weird.
even very much with a list of questions, or just, what, no, we're not, and we're not taking questions at this time, and blah blah blah, blah. Okay, that's fine. And I've kind of had to just reconcile that, what, I would, in like my moral conscience, I would rather do the right thing than do what's easy. And if that means voting PPC, at least I said, what, I tried to actually fight against liberal light, because we very much see that, unfortunately, the conservatives tend to move. Like, everyone loved Pierre when he was sticking it to the media, when he was the bulldog, and even when he was, under O'Toole, everyone was saying, look, the Pitbull is going to be unleashed now. He's going to be the one in charge, and watch, the conservatives are going to roar to life, and da 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 da, all this stuff. And this election is Pierre's to lose. Now
I
look,
wonder if, because so many people keep referring him to the Canadian Trump, that he's like trying to go the complete opposite. So people don't think he's Trump, because they're like, oh, everybody hates Trump, so no one's going to vote for that. But they voted for Trump, guys. Like, there needs to be a change. Like, the Liberal Party, it's not it. They've screwed us over left, right, and center. Like, that's not it. And there needs to be something. And it just makes me wonder if that's part of why all of a sudden he's kind of more seemingly identifying more lefty, because people are, calling him the Trump of Canada. And he's like, I don't want to be that.
I understand why he's playing to the center. Like, his advisors are telling him that Canada is a pretty left of center country, but
Mhm.
B, we don't control the media. So if you go 1 inch to the right, Trudeau's or now Carney's media will pummel you. I get that, and I'll give that to him. But his strategy completely backfired. His entire strategy was, I'm not Trudeau, and it was based on the assumption that Trudeau will always be there.
I hated that. I said that. That's when I turned on him. That's
Yeah.
when I turned on him, because he just kept saying, "Oh, I'm not Trudeau. I'm not Trudeau." I'm like, okay, you're replacing the man. Okay, we can replace the man just as we can replace you. You can replace me. We can always replace the person. You can't replace the ideology. That's what the actual attack is. The actual hope. Like, I get emails from the Liberal Party. I get emails from the Conservative Party. And the Liberals, it's either fear or, look at the work that we've done, we're trying to push more.
Yeah.
And look at the Conservatives. Look at they're going to destroy everything. No, don't support them. But what is the Conservatives? Where's Mark Carney? Mark Carney does this. Okay, but what are you doing? Like, I've asked that. I've literally asked that. In fact, I've blocked like every CPC MP, because I'm done. I'm not interested anymore. Just for that basic question. What are you going to do? How are you going to make Canada better? Anyone. How are you going to make Canada better? And they go, but we're not them. I don't give a fuck about them. Like,
You know,
I
I'm
don't
going to
care.
make a prediction here. Um, and Pierre Poilievre already hinted this. He unleashed one of his candidates to release a video criticizing monopolies. At some point, Pierre Poilievre is going to realize that he can't do this on his own. They're like an ossified, calcified party. And he's going to say to his candidates, you know, like the Moses, you know, let my candidates go.
Yeah.
And they're going to start flooding podcasts like yours. And I believe if he does that, he will get a boost. It'll be at our expense of the People's Party, but that if that was a strat, that's the advice I would give Pierre.
I hope, I shouldn't say hope. I don't know. I don't know what the right word would be, but it is really bothersome, and it actually kind of bothers me, like, because everyone says that, like, Max is, you know, he's this fringe conservative nobody. You know, he lost 51-49 to Scheer. And then what did Scheer do? Scheer went in, like, it's this type of stuff. Trudeau wore blackface more times than he cares to remember. Most people don't give a crap about that. They don't care. I don't care that Justin Trudeau dressed up as an Arabian Night for a drama play. That's how I see it. I look at that very much as in Alberta, there was a teacher that was fired because they did a school division thing of, like, you know, schools got talent. So one of the teachers dressed up as Mel B. She got fired for wearing blackface. The Conservatives are playing the same. They fell into the same trap. They're doing the same crap. It's like, no, dude, Mr. T was the thing on Halloween when I was growing up. Penny the Fool. You had the gold chains. You put shoe polish on. You put your hair in a mohawk. You're like, Penny the Fool. Like, that's
100%. You were the shit. Everyone wanted to be Mr. T.
But the Conservatives are playing the same liberal game that nobody cares about. No one cares. Everyone knows it's bullshit, but we just carry on. And we're gonna hold Trudeau that he wore blackface. Shut up. No one cares. No one cares. But
I don't know if their strategy is going to work, because they're doing a lot of YouTube ads, and it's really pissing off some liberals because they're everywhere. And you got that ominous voice like, Mark Carney moved his company to the U.S. Like, yeah, so what? Like, what are you going to do about immigration, bro?
I know. I hate that stuff. Make it. I've always said, like, make it about what are you going to do. I said one of the last things that I had said with Pierre was he had put out a little videos, not like that, but it was like, this is Canada. This is why I love Canada. This is why Canada is awesome. Like, yes, finally, you grew a spine and actually said, like, what you visioned Canada. That actually gives people hope. It gives people a vision that they can visualize. They can actually see where you want to go, where you want to move the country. And I want to build this with you. I want to see our roads fixed. I want to see families back together. I've seen what Trudeau and the government has done to you, made you more poor, lining up in food stamps while we're sending billions of dollars so that we can expand, blah, 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 blah. I want to see you succeed. I want to see your business succeed. I'm sorry for what happened in 2020. We all made mistakes. I'm sorry. I want to move Canada forward. There you go. Everyone would be at his feet, kissing his feet. Oh my God, Pierre, we love you. They don't do that. They play the same liberal game. I should be a politician. God damn it.
Should be a political advisor. Yeah.
Right?
So, Payman, this was a ton of fun. You're Benito, or is there any closing comments or things that you want to say?
Yeah. To all Canadians, you need to get involved. I know that sounds cliche, and I don't mean get involved like, I don't know, go out there and attend a school board trustee meeting. I mean, you need to organize with your friends and family, and you need to start talking about politics. You need to educate yourself on, the issues, and you need to find a way to share those. Like, you can't be in a silo. Freedom groups are good. Podcasts are better. Find a way to get around the media. Find a political party that you believe in, that supports your values, and help them out. Stop treating politicians like they're all evil. Some of them are, but many of them are trying to make change. So if you want to help me, my website's paymanascari.ca.
Fantastic. This was an hour and a half, and honestly, it felt like we just started talking. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know.
Payment, this was fantastic. It was a lot of fun. I really appreciated you coming out and everyone in the comments. Thank you. You kept it busy. I liked it. So with that, Kim, you have his website linked, right?
It will be.
Good. Perfect. Okay, Payment, I will not hold you any longer. I don't know if you want to stick around, say formal goodbyes, or you got more pressing issues. I'm sure you have a lot better things to do than talk to me. So
not necessarily better things, but I got to run to another interview. Tyler, Kim, thank you very much for having me on.
Awesome. Thank you so much
for
and
coming on. It was
best
a
of luck.
pleasure.
Best
Good
of luck.
luck.
Tomorrow is the election. I can't wait to see a purple wave. So thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you. Take care.
You as well. Thank you.
Bye.
Get the hell out of here. That was awesome. That was fantastic.
Yes, it was.
Thank you everyone for tuning in.
Yes.
I don't know what to say anymore.
Oh, jeez. All right. Well, thank you, as he said, for everybody who took the time of your day to come sit with us and listen to the craziness going on in the world this week. As per usual, we don't disappoint. There's just too much for us to keep up with. You can catch us in all the places listed in the description box below. Payments info will also be listed there, and anything we talked about will also be listed there, so you can do your own little fact checks. Other than that, we are live only on Rumble because YouTube's got small PP energy and they don't like us. And
I'm surprised we're actually still on YouTube because these streams
me too.
on YouTube. I'm like,
I know.
dude, you're gonna get booted.
I know, right? I said retarded. They're so gonna get booted. Sorry.
No, like engine retard. It's French. We speak French here. We speak 2 official languages in Canada.
Retard. There we go. You can just use that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
We're saying slow. Retard means slow. We use, we use. There's Spanglish. We use Franglish.
Franglish.
Yeah,
I like
we
it.
speak
I like it.
Franglish.
Anyway,
Get out
you
here.
can catch us live only on Rumble every Saturday, 1 p.m. Central. Otherwise, hope everyone has a fantastic weekend. Thank you for tuning in and commenting. We loved it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Otherwise, we'll catch you next week. We out.